How could we create a second Earth? As we blow through the resources on Earth, it's clear we're going to need a new planet soon. Since there isn't just another Earth laying around, is it possible that we could make one? Many scientists are exploring whether mankind can manage the task, taking a lifeless, desolate planet and re-engineering it and transforming it to make it beautiful and Earth-like, fit for life and humanity. This idea is called terraforming, and we at Smart is the New Sexy decided to find out what it is and how it's possible in reality, not in popular books and films. So let's start. What is terraforming? Well, terraforming is the process of turning a hostile environment into one that can support human life. And the first step is to choose the appropriate planet. Mars is considered by many scientists to be the most popular candidate for terraforming due to its similarities to Earth and its relative proximity. After all, it's literally right there and might be a good replacement for Earth. Many scientists believe that Mars, currently a sterile, cold, and lifeless world, was once warmer with liquid water on its surface. The fact that it may have been a friendlier environment in the past gives some hope that it could be terraformed into a new Earth for humanity in the future. But the challenges that Mars presents are formidable. The temperatures here can drop to a negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 73 degrees Celsius. And the atmosphere is both poisonous to humans and remarkably thin. While water exists in a frozen form below its surface as permafrost, liquid water is rare to non-existent. So we'd have to work hard in order to make it much more comfortable to live on. What do we have to work with? Mars's atmosphere is incredibly thin, only about 1% of what we have on Earth. On top of that, it's made of carbon dioxide, so it's toxic to humans. Also, Mars has no magnetosphere, which means there'd be no protection against radiation, and it only has about a third of the gravity we feel on Earth. So clearly, there's a lot we need to change. How do we fix Mars? Let's start with the atmosphere. We'd have to make it thicker and change its composition. One way to do this would be to trigger a greenhouse effect and make it so that any heat from the sun is trapped, heating the planet all over. We could do this a bunch of different ways, like using methane mined from the rocks on Mars, carbon dioxide, or we could even use ammonia. We could release ammonia by smashing ice-rich comets from the outer solar system. And since ammonia is mostly nitrogen by weight, once we add oxygen through plant life, we could have an atmosphere that's pretty similar to Earth's. With a thicker atmosphere, the atmospheric pressure would be high enough for humans to possibly live. From here, the atmosphere will warm the planet, and the rest of the terraforming job would be a piece of cake. We can melt Mars's polar ice caps, we're pretty good at melting those, and we'd have water. And with water, we can have the environment for life. Just make some changes to the Martian soil and set up shop on the formerly red planet. How about the magnetosphere? Now, even if mankind marshaled the intelligence, wisdom, and skill to achieve these goals, you'd be foolish to sell your home and plan to move just yet. There are many other concerns that make the dream of turning Mars into an Earth-like home for humanity seem more like a fantasy. The whole reason Mars lost its atmosphere is because it doesn't have a magnetosphere. Mars's global magnetic field shut down around 4.2 billion years ago, and from there, the solar wind and powerful sun explosions stripped away most of the atmosphere, sending it off into space. Which isn't good, because that means there's not a ton of carbon dioxide in the Mars rocks to release in order to trigger a greenhouse effect. Plus, any atmosphere we do add to Mars won't last very long. Eventually, it too will be stripped away by radiation and solar wind, and whatever it wasn't would be hard to hold on to with Mars's weaker gravity. So, Mars is out. Let's look at Venus. Unlike Mars, Venus has a super thick atmosphere and temperatures around plus 460 degrees Celsius or 860 degrees Fahrenheit, so we'd have to change a lot of that too. One option is to bombard Venus with hydrogen from gas giants, creating graphite and water that would turn into global oceans. These would dissolve produced nitrogen and lower the atmospheric pressure to something more Earth-like. How about other places? Well, there's water and organic molecules in the northern polar region, so heating the bottoms of big craters with mirrors could melt the ice. Then you just add a dome on top to create a little life bubble on a hostile planet, as well as the moon. Hopefully, that life bubble has Wi-Fi. We mean, imagine the views from there. We could enter into a second selfie Olympics. And we might be able to terraform Europa if we could melt the surface ice. Some of it would release the oxygen, which would populate the atmosphere, and we could have a water world on our hands. It's also possible to terraform Titan too, but we'd have to create oxygen and make the moon less toxic to humans. When do we start? Terraforming is incredibly difficult and really far off in the future. The fact that, at best, it would take mankind at least 100,000 years to duplicate the Earth, and the difficulty of creating another Earth should really make us appreciate our current Earth that we have at this very moment. So what would be the answer to the question when we will leave the Earth and go to another planet for a better life? Definitely not very soon at all.